Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Solution Sunday, because being the soul you are, the grand being of light you are, is the solution. Today, the grand being of light we have with us is Patra Healey. She is a good friend of mine. She's got healing written right into her name, right? So today we're going to be talking about natural healing, how we heal ourselves, how we start to disengage from the disease matrix, from all the consumerism and all the craziness, and then return to nature and our natural ability to heal ourselves, to tune in and tap into what nature gives us, the things that are natural, that are for our benefit. And this conversation is going to be super fun. It's going to go all over the board and we're going to have a great time. Patra, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today.
I'm so glad to have you back. We have so much fun. Patra is such a wise woman. She has so many just natural inclinations, natural awarenesses, and she came here and visited earlier this spring to the Adirondacks, and we had some amazing times playing outdoors.
We had a blast.
Right?
It was so much fun. It was one of my favorite trips, I would have to say.
Oh, it was so beautiful. It was such a great time. We had a small group of healers that gathered together, very powerful group of healers. And man, when you get some powerful healers that are all on the same wavelength and all focused on the same thing at the same time.
That was an incredible day.
Right?
All the work we did together, that was just wow.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. It was so powerful. It was so much fun. And a lot came out of that session for everybody who was there.
Everybody got exactly what they needed that day. It was wonderful.
Right. So what we're referencing is that all of us that were together are healers in our own right, somehow, some way, whether it's with music, whether it's with awareness, whether it's with hands-on. There were probably 8 or 10 of us that were gathered together, and we would put one person on the massage table in the center, and we would all gather around and we would focus our energy. And wow, the healings that happened, the miracles that happened were absolutely astonishing. And the love that was generated. Oh my
There was so much shedding that day.
Right?
So much releasing and just healing and support. It was a lovely day. I mean, it's the way I really enjoy living life, and just connecting with people that way and being present and supporting them in their process.
That's it.
It was wonderful.
Right? It's like we are all healers in one way or another.
Yep.
You know, we have been
Absolutely.
taught in this society that you have to have an education and you have to have a degree and you got to have a diploma on your wall and you got to have a license, and in order to be a healer, that's what that is. That's really not what it is at all.
No, I really believe that it starts with yourself.
Exactly.
Working with and healing yourself, and all things will flow from there.
Exactly. And for me, that process is also about reconnecting to nature around us, to be able to tune in and be fully present with the universe, with the earth, with our bodies, with ourselves. And once we're in tune with all of that is just right here around us, it's not a big deal, placing our attention on the universe itself and how everything is in balance already. Like, we don't see stuff falling out of the sky. It's like the constellations, like they're all just hanging there all together. Like, we don't see chaos and confusion in the stars. It's Like,
It's perfectly in rhythm.
exactly. It's
Mhm.
like everything that we have been taught in this physical realm is really pretty distorted. That,
Yeah.
pills are the answer, and, that, get this degree and you'll be fabulous, or buy this product and wow, your entire life will change because of this fry pan. Like what?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, advertising is not necessarily true. Most of the time it's not.
Yeah,
And trying to convince you that you need all these things and all this stuff, and that's not the case at all. You really don't need so much stuff.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll never forget the conversation that you and I were having about the stuff, as far as like shampoos and conditioners and soaps, and
Mhm.
I was really fascinated to learn that you don't use those things.
Nope, not at all. Mm-mm. I mean, it was a process to get there and to understand, excuse me, that your body produces what it needs. So your skin needs oil and it produces its own oil. And we can manage that with washcloths and water. And we don't, and for the hair, I started out trying to do the natural shampoos and the natural conditioners. And then I just went to doing conditioning, and then it would build up in my hair and my head would itch. And then during the lockdown, actually, I decided it was time to just see what happens if I don't wash my hair with soap. And of course, my body was overproducing because I was stripping it out with shampoo, and my hair was like slicked back. I was like, looked like I had Brill cream in my hair for a couple of weeks, but I was locked in my house, so it didn't matter. And eventually it balanced out. I was using a Boar hairbrush and, pulling the oil out. And then after a few weeks of that, it just kind of found its own balance. And I use a Boar brush and I use rose water between showers. And I mean, it looks all right. Yeah.
Wow, looks amazing.
Yeah. And then I started cutting my own hair too. So during that
Ah,
time. So I don't go to hairdressers. I don't use any of the products like the hygiene toiletry type stuff. And anything that I do use on my skin is all natural. So I use tallow balm on my skin. I use essential oils. I use rose water. Um, I use something called Ion Gut Spray, which is it has ancient soil in it. So it has a natural biome. It supports the biome of your skin. And you can take, there's an internal one you can take to help support your gut. So I don't, and those are, I don't put anything that's synthetic or chemical laden. I don't use dryer sheets because they imbalance they affect your hormones and your immune system. So I try to stay as toxin free, but the confusion around a lot of that is that if it says it's organic, it says it's natural, that we think it's safe. We think it's toxin free, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just another product. So cutting back on products, I mean, you can save so much money just by scrubbing your skin with a washcloth.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Apple
Yeah,
cider, using cider or
you
like
can do that.
vinegar
Mm-hmm.
on your hair as a
Yeah,
rinse.
some people do baking soda and apple cider vinegar washes. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do that don't require soap.
Wow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
who knew, right?
I know.
It's
And
like,
I can't really figure out why I made the decision to do that, to just, let's try it. But I'd heard of people who had done it, and there was a lot of there's tons of blogs out there about your hair and how to keep it natural. And I think too, if you have curlier hair, it can get dry and frizzy with a lot of those products.
Mhm.
So allowing your body to naturally oil your hair, like it's great.
Right? That's kind of a no-brainer. That's
Right.
amazing.
It works out really well. And it just takes a period of time to get your body adjusted to the change
Mhm.
because it's overproducing because you're stripping it all the time with soaps and conditioners and so forth and so on. But your body can really manage it on its own. I mean, it was created to do that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's like there are no grocery stores in the rainforest. You
Right.
know, it's like
Right.
this is, humanity was designed to be able to live off the land
Mm-hmm. Well,
from
and
everything that nature gives.
if you think about ancient people
Mhm.
and how they survived, what would they eat? What would they use on their skin? How would they bathe?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of shoes would they wear? What kind of clothes would they wear?
Mhm.
And there are, modern ways to do quite a bit of those things. And grounding is, I just think about how, they slept on the ground. They may or may not have worn shoes. And if they did, they were of natural fibers that would help them connect with the ground. And
Exactly.
our nervous system needs to be connected to the earth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Divide and conquer is a war strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all been
Yeah.
divided, not
Mm-hmm.
only by land by nations, putting borders
Right.
around nations. We're divided by male and female. We're
Mm-hmm.
divided by young and old. We're divided by
Mm-hmm.
religion. We're divided by language. We're divided by borders. We're divided by ideologies, all kinds of things that divide us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's the division, it's this fragmentation
Mm-hmm.
that has one versus the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
the fragmentation that manifests as dis-ease in our physical body. The physical body is not the problem, it's the fragmentation that's the problem.
Yeah. That's a good point. It really is. Yeah. I mean, and we're divided from the earth. We're
Ex-
divided from each other. Technology is a plus and a minus
Yes,
because it connects us in ways that we couldn't before, but it's also keeps us from in-person relationships and truly connecting as humans. We need community. We need it.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We look at these huge cities that have been constructed, and there is virtually no nature,
No,
you know,
like a
like
random tree in the middle of the street.
exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
you look at I live relatively close to New York City, about 5 hour drive, but the last time I went, you know, I live out here in the Adirondack Mountains. I live
Mm-hmm.
in nature. I'm surrounded
Mm-hmm.
by nature all the time.
It's
When I go to
beautiful
the
too.
city, like sometimes it is just the energies and frequencies are so overwhelming. There's so
Oh,
much just
mm-hmm.
being barraged by frequencies and lights and cameras and
Everywhere,
sounds and
constant.
it's like, oh,
The advertisement alone is, it's just so in your face all the time.
yep,
Mm-hmm. I
exactly.
remember when we were driving up to your house and we were coming up into, I think it was New Jersey right before New York,
Yep.
and there were these huge, I guess they were power lines, and they were huge. Like I'd never seen any so big in my life. And my whole body went into like shock driving through that area. I could feel the buzzing coming from them, and it was so intense.
Mhm.
And I was with Lisa, another Lisa friend
Yeah.
of ours. Um, and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you all?" I mean, and it was really, really intense driving through that area. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then we drove up on the power lines and it was shocking. I was like, oh. this is what's going on.
Yeah,
Like EMFs are a serious thing
like it is a thing.
and it's increasing. And when you're closer to cities, it's more intense.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have such high sensitivity to EMFs that they need to move to areas where it's low or none in the surrounding area. And it's just continuing to increase more and more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The grounding part, if we're grounded,
Mm-hmm.
then at least we've got kind of a fighting
Yeah.
chance against the
Yes.
EMF thing.
Absolutely.
But if we're not grounded, if we're disconnected, if we're already in a state of like overwhelm and
Mm-hmm.
unbalance, then
Yeah.
the EMF fields simply amplify all of
Yeah.
that. And when
Yes.
we're not aware of the effect of these energetic frequencies on
Mm-hmm.
us, we
Mm-hmm.
think there's something wrong with us. Like, oh my
Sure.
gosh, I don't feel right. I'm really, really anxious. I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. What's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with us. But there's some serious stuff going on in the environment,
Right.
in the electromagnetic field.
Absolutely. It's measured, it's scientific, it's going on, and it is affecting us whether we realize it or not.
Exactly.
So grounding in that sense is extremely important. And there's all kinds of things you can do, sleeping on grounding mats,
Mhm.
just walking on the dirt. But if you live in a place where you don't have access to nature, there are all kinds of things you can do to support grounding.
Exactly.
It's necessary. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even just placing our attention on the earth beneath our feet and
Mm,
making a conscious
yes.
connection to the earth, that's enough to start grounding because Mother Earth and our bodies are made of the same materials.
Yes.
So when we connect to Mother Earth, that is a
Mhm,
really big body, then
mhm.
that really big body can help our small
Yeah.
bodies
Mhm.
rebalance. We
Yes.
we create a state of coherence between the
Yes.
earth and ourselves.
Mhm. It's
And
all about intention, right?
exactly.
Mhm. So
Yes,
if you're intending for your feet to be in the dirt, they are.
precisely.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like the,
It's
the power of our imagination
mm.
has been
Oh,
stolen from us.
absolutely. And it's been conditioned and formed to work in very specific ways. And you can change your internal history with the power of imagination. You
Yes,
can change your physical body with the power of imagination. It is one of the greatest gifts we have as humans.
it's a tool
Yes.
that we can use
Yes.
intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
we've just been taught, oh, that's just your imagination. That doesn't mean anything. That's
You're
not
just
real,
daydreaming. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? And there's the root of the majority of our suffering is that we
Mm-hmm.
no longer have the ability to use our imagination because we have been taught this is right and this is wrong. If
Mm-hmm.
you think these thought, you're wrong. And
Right.
nobody wants to be wrong. So it's
Mm-mm.
like, okay, well, this is right. This is what I have to do. I got to follow the rules. This is how it is.
Right.
So then we just simply follow all the rules and do what we're told. And we never realize that we're just walking ourselves
Mhm.
right into prison.
There's so much more beyond that. Yeah. I have conversations with my clients often about imagination because I use it in my work. And I was talking about this with a client yesterday that if you have memories that keep coming back to you, very specific, you can feel all the motions of that memory as if you are there. You can use your imagination and step into that memory and change it. Interact with the person you were at that time, find out what they need, and support that piece of you, which will help integrate that part of you back into yourself. It is such a powerful gift that we can do that. But like you said, we've been so conditioned that we're victims of our history. We're victims of our memory
Mhm.
or how we experienced an event. And that's not necessarily the case at all. I mean, you have a choice in the matter and you can heal those memories so that you now can look at it in its new form and observe it, but not have an emotional charge attached to it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing, is the emotional charge.
Yeah.
Those charges are magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
So fear, doubt, guilt, shame, blame, they have a very magnetic pull to them.
Hmm. Yes.
And if we are not conscious, that our attention gets
Yeah.
pulled right into those energies.
Mm-hmm.
And when our attention gets pulled into fear, for example, all of a sudden now fear is everywhere. We're looking at things through that lens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, what's wrong with my body? I'm afraid of my body. Oh no, what's going
Right.
on in the world out there? Oh my gosh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because we've gotten sucked into the middle of the fear energy. And if we don't know that we can clear that out, that it doesn't belong to us,
Mm-hmm.
then we're just stuck with it.
Absolutely. And for people who feel other people's emotions, I've had that experience myself. I often think they're mine and I hold them in my
Right?
body
Yeah,
and they create havoc. I mean, I believe I got so sick with Lyme disease and other issues because I was holding emotions that weren't even mine.
exactly.
So even if they're yours or if they're someone else's, if you just recognize them and allow them to flow through, then they can't get stuck.
Yes.
But the more we suppress them or ignore them or pretend like it's something else, the sicker we will become. Because, like you said, they're very powerful energies
Yep,
and they will break your body down after a period of time. And it doesn't have to be that way.
exactly. And it really is. It just comes down to being aware of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
We've never been taught to be aware of energy.
Uh-huh.
So when
No.
energy comes at us and starts to push on us and
Uh-huh.
we feel anxiety, we feel fear, we feel tension, we feel pressure, we just assume that it belongs to us.
Yes. Right.
Doesn't belong to us at all.
Mm-mm.
The
No, and
only
people
thing
will
that
put stuff on you. Like all the stuff happening in the world, the news, all the things, they are instilling fear, anxiety, stress, worry
on
in you, and
purpose.
conditioning you into that.
Yep, on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
It's pretty it's very powerful.
Mhm.
So you have the choice whether you submit to that power or not.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started to realize that emotions were just energies in motion
Mm-hmm.
and that they didn't necessarily belong to me, that the only things that belong to me are the things that I claim to be
Mm-hmm.
mine.
Right.
So fear, as long as I claim it to be mine, like I'm afraid, then
Mm-hmm.
that's mine.
Sure.
But when I realize, oh, I'm feeling fear, all right, hang on, let me clear that out. It goes away and it's not mine. It doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to affect me.
Mm-hmm. I think acknowledging it is so important that
Yes.
that's what you're feeling.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then you
if
can do something with it.
yeah, like the acknowledgement is just like I'm aware that it's here and I'm
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
that it doesn't have to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have choice
Mm.
and I
Right.
choose to just clear it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like energy is not personal until we make it personal.
Right. Until we take it on. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you do with your clients, because I know how powerful that is.
Okay, so I'm trained in craniosacral therapy, which is light touch therapy that works with the nervous system. And it's based in osteopathy. Dr. John Upledger is the one who created craniosacral therapy. So we do manipulate bone, but it's all very light touch. And the goal really, well, the ultimate goal of craniosacral therapy is self-realization, self-actualization. But it's through supporting the nervous system, supporting the client in clearing stress and trauma in the nervous system that allows their bodies to heal and move towards self-realization. It's in my opinion, it is super amazing. It's changed my life, and that's why I have gotten training and certifications and all the things, because I want to know all the stuff about craniosacral. And we do elements of somato-emotional release. So that is suppressed emotion in the nervous system. Well, it's in your tissues and can get shoved anywhere in your body, create dysfunction, health issues, pain, intense stress, chronic issues. And with active imagination, which was created by Carl Jung, or I guess maybe not created, but realized by Carl Jung, we can support and help the client to interact with their body, with their imagination, to help heal and release these suppressed and chronic issues. And it is my most favorite aspect of the work that I do, is supporting clients who are really ready to heal, to self-discover, to acknowledge their responsibility in all of this, and that they have the power to change it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we've really gotten so disconnected from our bodies
Oh,
that
yeah.
as soon as there's an ache or a pain or a lump or a bump or a rash, like, we
Yeah.
freak out over it. And, we go running off to some expert to find out what's wrong with us and,
Mm-hmm.
what's the pill that's going to fix this.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to do that.
Mm-mm.
No, we have
No,
the ability to simply tune in
exactly.
and ask, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
What
Show
do I
me.
need to know about this?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
when the answer comes, it's like, boom, light bulb. Oh,
Yep.
well, that changes everything, doesn't it? It's
Mm-hmm.
like when I found myself facing cancer, I would sit down and I wasn't going to go the medical route. So I decided to sit, ask, and listen.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to sit every day and ask the question, what do I need to know about this in order for it to change?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer became obvious after a while, when it popped in and it was clear as a bell. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Lisa, your body's not being attacked by cancer. Neither is anybody else's. Your body is responding to the emotional environment that you're providing,
Mm-hmm. And it's manifesting it. Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
It's like, hey, you're suicidal. Like, you got some stuff going on. Like, it's
Yeah.
not your body's fault here.
Right.
You got some stuff you got to clear up.
Yes, exactly. And I think we take these symptoms as the illness, where in reality, it's your body telling you something's wrong. You need to pay attention to me. And we quickly rush to suppress it or fix it or solve it instead of trying to understand what the body is saying, because it's got its own language
It
and
does.
we are not fluent in it currently.
Oh, we have been
And
disconnected.
so sitting and learning this language and how your body is communicating with you, because it communicates differently to everyone and their relationship with their body is different. So there are keys and ways to discover the language of your body so that you can hear it and respond to it, acknowledge it, interact with it. And I think acknowledging is like the first key. The first step is really letting your body tell you and acknowledging what it's saying. It needs to be heard.
Exactly.
And we're not willing to slow down enough to listen.
Mhm. Right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like the way we feel about what our body is doing is a
Mm-hmm.
really key component in the awareness. It's like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I'm
Right.
afraid. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's fear. You need to clear
Mm-hmm.
some fear out of your energy field.
Yes. Yeah.
Or, in my case, it was like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed that I let my body get this way. Well, I had shame in my
Sure.
energy field.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Right.
nothing wrong with my body. My body
Mm-mm.
was going, "Hey, Lisa, you got a lot of shame going on. You're
Wow.
carrying shame. You're
Mm-hmm.
carrying fear. You got to
Mm-hmm.
get rid of those. And
Yeah.
when you get rid of those things, your body is going to heal because it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to need to keep showing you like, "Hey, you got this stuff in
Exactly.
your energy field that needs to
Mm-hmm.
be looked at."
Mm-hmm.
Because everything happens in the non-physical realms before it
Mm-hmm.
shows up in the physical.
Right.
So the physical isn't the problem. The physical is simply pointing to the non-physical, to the
Mm.
energy.
Yeah. And there are things you can do for your body as you're processing through all of those things to
Exactly.
support it so that it can function well. And
Exactly.
it's not going to be, I can't say it's never going to be medication because I don't know everything about it,
Right?
but there are ways to do it without.
Exactly.
You've got to do what you got to do to get where you need to be. And it's a process for everyone to figure out their own path. But clearing out the emotional, traumatic stuff, I know I have re traumatized myself while I'm trying to ignore a trauma. Like I will send from Lyme disease, I would say that I created PTSD for myself because I was traumatizing myself over the trauma that I had.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it was not necessary. But
Exactly.
there's a lot of trauma that comes with being chronically ill and needing to really pay attention to your emotions and acknowledging and clearing them so that your body can ultimately heal.
Exactly.
Because things just compound and compound and compound until we decide to change that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we've received so much programming,
Yeah.
about death and destruction and disease.
Right.
And, we have
Mm-hmm.
the answer. And if you don't follow our answer, then,
You're
you're a
going to die.
goner.
It's ultimately everything that they drive you with is death. You're
Exactly.
going to die if you don't do what we tell you to do. You're going to die if you're going to die if.
Yep. Or we're going to kill you if you don't.
Oh, well, there's that too. Yeah.
Right. Like,
Right.
you know,
Uh-huh.
you will never be free again. And
Right.
it's like, wow, that's a lot of fear. And, kind of the funny thing is, though, when you realize I've died thousands of deaths and here I am still here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
death is actually the illusion. We are non physical beings. We
Mm-hmm.
can't possibly die. The
Yeah.
physical body stops. We just keep going. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we step into another iteration of self.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
once we get over that fear, that illusion, that
Right.
like, whew, that takes a lot of pressure off.
It does. It does. Well, and I think there's, you know, people or there's so many institutions that tell you what's going to happen after death.
Right?
But I don't think they have all the answers. They haven't been there. They don't know.
Right? It's like
Yeah,
all the answers are right inside.
exactly.
I had, I tell this story a lot. So, when I was 2 years old, I would go to sleep at night and I would just be part of this non-physical field of infinite love.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, well, this is what's true. Like, this is what's real. This is what's everlasting and eternal. This doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Everything that is comes from this space.
Mhm.
It's like, there's peace, there's ease, there's harmony, there's joy, joy. Oh my gosh,
Right.
bliss. Like, it's amazing.
Mhm.
And that's what is.
Mhm.
And from that space, I could look at Earth and go, whoa, those folks are not doing that here.
Right.
Like,
Something's not right. Something's different.
exactly. It's like they
Yeah.
got it a little backwards. And I could see
Mhm.
the amnesia. And,
Yeah.
as a 2-year-old, it
Mhm.
was pretty terrifying
It
to
was.
realize like all of these people are asleep. Nobody has any idea that they're grand beings of light. Like,
Mhm.
what do you do with that?
When you're 2.
Right? But
Right.
then, most people have that experience in like a near death experience. They
Mhm.
have a heart attack or a stroke and then they leave their body and then they get resuscitated and come back in and then they have these experiences. They share the experience. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I died. I went to the other side and hey, I'm back again. Like,
Right. And it was really great.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm. Very rarely most of the people talk about how amazing the experience is on the other side.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just, here in the physical realm, the the electromagnetic charges, are so it's like having our finger in the socket all the time. It's like we're constantly getting zapped by
Mhm.
these shocks,
Mm.
you know, shocking news. Like it's an
Right.
electromagnetic thing and it literally runs through our body. But
Yeah.
like we don't recognize how the electromagnetic energy works.
Right.
And then if we don't discharge that shock,
Mhm.
grounding, right? Like is what helps discharge all of those built up energies.
Mhm.
So by being disconnected from the earth, we're not able to
Right.
discharge all those built up energies.
Yeah,
So
right.
our energy field just keeps getting more and more filled with shocks and traumas, and it's
Exactly.
still there in our energy field.
Mhm.
And we just don't know why we don't really feel great.
Right.
But then when we go out in nature, it's like, oh, I feel so much
Mhm.
better now.
Yeah.
It's all
Mhm.
about that energy.
It really is. There's a documentary about grounding. And in the documentary, a woman talks about having chronic pain and illness and difficulty. And I don't remember who it was, told her to go and lay in her yard every day for an hour. And so she did. And all of those issues began to disappear just by laying in the grass.
Right? Just
It's
getting quiet,
it's
being present,
amazing.
and being connected to the earth.
Hmm. It is amazing. I was really sick at one point. Well, sick, sick. And I actually created my own grounding mat. I made one for less than $20.
Wow.
And I put it on my bed and I then didn't feel well for a couple of weeks. And for a week I was in bed because of how not well I was. And leading up to that point, I had a lot of chronic pain, just constant inflammation that I could not get under control. I laid in my bed for a week on this grounding mat, and miraculously, I didn't have the chronic inflammation any longer.
Ah.
So I have to be very, very conscious about grounding every day. And I have a grounding mat because I know now that if I'm not grounding for long periods of time, like sleeping on my bed, that I'm going to have chronic pain issues. I need contact with the earth, just like everyone does. And that really proved to me how important it is. And then another time I was TAing a course and we were in a hotel for 4 days. And a friend of mine there had an app that said how many devices were in the room. And there were over 100 that had access to us. And I started getting a lot of pain and it didn't occur to me I'm sleeping in a hotel room, why I was experiencing so much pain. And he approached me, showed me the app, and he said, I think that you need to ground. And I was like, oh, oh, oh my, I didn't even think about it. I was in a hotel, I went outside, there was a little grassy area, and I just walked around in my bare feet the whole break. And I have a mat that I travel with because it's my body gets inflamed when it's not in contact with the earth. It's been proven to me several times now that I have to listen.
Wow. So how did you make your grounding mat?
Oh, so there's cords you can purchase that plug into your wall that only plug into the grounding. There's the 3 holes.
Oh,
The one is the grounding plug.
right.
So I got a cord that does that and has an alligator clip on the end. And I bought a insert for a screen. And I put tape around it, like Gorilla Tape, so it wouldn't poke me. And I covered it with this old linen sheet that I have, put it under the sheet of my bed and clipped the alligator clip to it. And so that cost less than $20.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ingenious.
I mean, you have to be careful because it'll get bent up and all kinds of things. But if you take care of it, it lasted me 3 years.
Wow.
I know, for $20, $25. Super
That's
cheap and easy.
it.
Mm-hmm. And if you use sheets that are made of a natural fiber like cotton or linen or bamboo or something like that, it will conduct, grounding mats will conduct through the sheet. Mm-hmm.
So cool. And
Yeah,
the sheets themselves, like they have different types of electromagnetic charges, and
they
like
they
they
can.
can help to ground just in and of themselves
I'm
too, the
sure.
natural
Mm,
fibers.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's other cords that go out your window and plug to this little metal thing that sticks in the ground, but you can connect into the grounding of your own home because
Right.
every house has to be grounded,
Exactly.
and it's fantastic. It's easy. And that's really what we need to find are the easy ways to do this.
Exactly. The universe is not meant to be complicated.
Right.
Really everything in the universe is really, really simple. But,
It's not.
it's just been really, really complicated here on the earth.
Well, and I think our ancient ways have been hidden from us. I've
Exactly.
recently been thinking about the colonization of different societies and bringing them into civilization, and they made them stop speaking their own language.
Right?
They wouldn't let them wear their own clothes or even keep their hair long, naturally long, the way that they did, or interact with their parents. They were removed, and it stripped them of their wisdom, their ancient wisdoms. And so many native tribal people throughout the world are struggling to keep their culture. And it's so important. It's so important. And those of us who are so removed from our ancient peoples, can learn so much from these cultures.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much wisdom, and they've maintained, and they're trying to bring a lot of it back. And as they are, I would just love to sit at the feet and just absorb the wisdom of how they interact with the earth and the way that they prepare and cook and eat their foods and their ceremonies and the way they interact with the universe. I mean, we have no idea.
Exactly. Everything has been so distorted that we don't even have our own soul memories anymore. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know where we were before we came into this body.
Right.
I mean, I'm speaking for myself and the majority of people I know. I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
anybody that knows their ancestry, their heritage of where they have been prior to this incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
know there are those on the planet who do, but
sure.
they're fewer and far between.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So,
And
we
we
have
bring
just,
so much wisdom with us when we come, and it just gets lost.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I knew so much at 2
Right.
and 3 years old. A lot of stuff was absolutely crystal clear to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up having to lose all those memories, being sent off to school and be educated and here,
Mm-hmm.
place all this information in your head and let's just push
Regurgitate
out
it.
all the natural information and
Mm-hmm.
replace it with artificial information.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's
Mm-hmm.
really crazy, but this is such an amazing time to be on planet Earth
Yeah.
where we are starting to wake up and realize, wait a second, we're being sold a lot of stuff that is not to our benefit.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we are being used.
Yes.
You know, social media makes money off of our attention,
Hmm.
and they are using us to make money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really, really interesting. One of the languages I speak is energy, like electromagnetic energy. And we have been taught to ignore all the energy. Don't look at that, so we don't pay any attention to it. But once I started to learn that language and I started paying attention, I realized that free energy is a thing. Like every person emits energy. We are
Mm,
emitting
yes.
energy all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
We are.
And if the stimuli that comes in generates enough fear or anxiety, we are putting out kilowatts upon kilowatts of energy, and somebody is using that energy.
Someone.
It's not us that's using our own energy. Guaranteed, somebody else is using that energy to their
Mm,
advantage,
mm. That's a very interesting thought.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are people use fear to drive us into doing what they want us to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one example
Mm-hmm.
of other people using our energy.
Well, and there has to be a benefit for people to be in a state of chronic stress and anxiety
Mm,
for this, because you're going to
right?
be producing higher levels of this energy you're talking about.
Exactly. And the energy is actually given a name. It's called loosh. And
Oh,
it is what negative dark force energies actually feed on.
and this is
L
Lusch.
O O S H.
I'm
Loosh.
writing this down. Loosh. This is a new word for me. I'm going to be checking that out.
Yeah, loosh. It's what the
Mm,
it's what dark entities feed on.
interesting.
So the dark has to, just like any other being, it has to feed. Like,
Mm, ah,
there's
right.
some, if we don't get fed, we
Mm-hmm.
perish. So
Mm-hmm.
dark energy is also intelligent energy, and
Sure.
it actually needs to be fed, and it
Mm,
feeds on our light. So the energy that we emit in the form of light.
mhm.
But when we are in fear, we're emitting that frequency and we feel fear, but it's actually the fear that is sucking our light out. It's feeding
Mm,
on our light, which is why we feel the fear.
wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's a very interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also currently in a training called Activator Healing Coach, and it is about quantum and dimensional work. And there is so much going on in these dimensional aspects of us, like you're talking about, and that there are beings that can have access to us if we are not stabilized.
Exactly.
It is so important to stabilize our energy centers in our body, because we can get pushed and pulled in so many different directions that we don't even know what's going on because we're so destabilized.
Exactly.
And I'm finding as I'm practicing and learning about this work, how powerful it is with using our imagination, like we talked about before, that we can really intend and heal on these etheric and dimensional realms. It's super powerful, and it's been such an interesting experiencing it for myself and my own dimensional healing, and supporting others in theirs. We can change all of these things.
Yes.
We can impact the way that the world interacts with us, as well as how we interact with the world.
Yes.
It's very powerful and empowering.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Precisely. And our light is the most powerful thing on the planet. And
Right.
when we're using it consciously and
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, we can change the world overnight.
We can. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what is actually possible. Spontaneous healing,
Yeah.
bringing ourselves into a state of coherence can
Mm-hmm.
generate spontaneous healings.
Mm-hmm.
Just being aware of the energy.
Mm-hmm.
How are we feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Our body is the thing that senses energy.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's sensing, hey, there's fear or guilt or shame that's feeding on you right now,
Mm-hmm.
we just go, oh my God, there's something wrong with my body.
Right. And we freak out about that and re-traumatize ourselves.
Exactly, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it's like
Yeah.
developing some new language skills,
Mm-hmm.
developing a new relationship with our bodies, recognizing that there's nothing wrong with our bodies ever, that our body is on our side.
Mm-hmm.
And the body is literally pointing to the
Right.
energies that are dimming our light, that are
Mm-hmm.
feeding on us, that have
Yeah.
invaded our space and
Mm-hmm.
taken up valuable real estate in our
Right.
energy field.
Mm-hmm. It's important to become your own best friend
Yes.
and to pay attention to yourself in a way that you would someone you loved.
Exactly.
It's really, we're really taught that focusing on yourself is selfish and negative.
Right?
But self-love is key. You can't love anyone else in the way that you can if you are loving yourself. It then emanates from you. You begin to change the energy that you're putting out.
Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And your presence can then begin to support and impact and heal the people around you, because you love yourself and are healing yourself.
Exactly. It's like when you fall in love and you have
Mhm.
that the wings on
Yeah.
your heels, like life is so great.
Mhm.
Well, we've all been programmed that that only happens when you find the one person out of all of creation that's for you. And then you find that one person, and then you can't love anybody else because it's just that one person.
Right. Right.
But it's like, wait a second, no. It's like when we have that love for ourselves,
Mhm.
then we can walk around in that state of feeling amazing
Yeah.
all day, every
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
And we share that with everybody we come in contact with.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they feel safe with you, they may end up learning to love themselves because they see themselves through your eyes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes. And then we don't develop those like codependent relationships,
It's very different. Yeah.
right? It's like, I love you, but not when you're doing this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's not love.
Mm. Yeah. No.
Yeah. It really is all about returning to our true nature, the
Yes.
nature of who we are as beings. Love
Absolutely.
is our nature, light
Mm.
is our nature, living in
Yes.
harmony with all that is, with life itself in all its
Mhm.
forms and iterations.
Mhm.
That's what's really natural.
Yes. Yes. Coming home. Mhm.
Exactly. So I love all of these tips that you have shared with us today,
Mm.
Patra. What are some of the things that you would say if somebody wanted to learn how to take care of their body and their skin organically? What are the I know you mentioned rose water. What are some of
Mhm.
the things that you would suggest for people to try just to start out with if they've never experienced that before?
Well, first you have to be aware that your body's going to go through a bit of detoxing,
Mhm.
but you can use any natural oils, fats on your skin, like tallow. You can use olive oil, things like that that you already have, and test out coconut oil and test out how your skin responds to those different oils or fats. Um, and just stop using all the things. There's ways to clean your skin with natural oils like that. You can put oil on your face and then let it sit for a little while and then take hot water on a washcloth and it will pull the things out of your skin and cleanse your skin and wash your face that way. You don't have to use a stringent soap,
Right.
And some other ways, if you have a lot of skin issues, is really healing your gut and balancing the microbiome in your gut, and it will begin to change your skin.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of information out there. Meat stock is probably the biggest key to healing your skin. And it's like you just stick a chicken in a pot with water, celery, carrots, onion, and let it cook for several hours. And then drink the stock that comes from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many amazing, simple things that we
Mm-hmm.
can do.
Yeah.
We have just been taught so backwards,
Yeah.
with
Mm-hmm.
teenagers like, don't put any oil on your skin. Your skin's too oily already.
Yeah. Well, it's producing the oil for some reason.
Mhm.
Do you strip it? Do you have a leaky gut? What are you currently doing that's creating your body, that's causing your body to overproduce something?
Yeah,
It's not evil. It's
right.
trying to compensate for something.
Yeah,
It's not trying to ruin your life, I promise.
exactly. In our skin, when we learn about the biological laws, we learn that the skin is the organ that separates the external world from the internal world.
Mm-hmm.
So any skin issue is at its root, there's a separation issue
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So how many teenagers with acne, like they don't want to show their face, they
Right.
right? It's like, no,
What's
it's
going on there?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's it's amazing when we just take the time to become interested enough
Yeah.
to how do we return to our true nature? How do
Mm-hmm.
we step out of this consumerist society that we have been
Right.
indoctrinated into?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we start to live in harmony with the land and in harmony with our own true nature and in
Yes.
harmony with our own bodies and in harmony with the people around us?
Yeah.
And
And it
it's
will show you. If you
exactly,
start asking those questions, you will find it out. You will find the way.
exactly, because ultimately it's natural,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Everything in nature seeks its own balance.
Yes.
All we need is to be open and willing to seek, to just simply become aware.
Yes.
Wow. Patra, this has been such an amazing conversation. I
Mm.
love our conversation,
They're so good, aren't they?
right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, if people live in the Maryland area and would like to come and experience craniosacral session with Patra, which I highly, highly recommend, how do they find you?
Well, my website is patrahealey.com, patrahealey.com. And I also do offer long distance work, the dimensional
Ooh.
activation healing coach work that I'm currently learning. I have begun to offer on my website too. So if people want to meet with me, the first session is free. We can connect and see if it's something that will work for you, for me, for us, and go from there.
Wow. So no matter where you are in the world, you can connect to Patra and
Yeah.
experience her vast wisdom. Patra is she is so tuned into the energies, and she is the work that she does is very powerful. It's very gentle and it's very, very loving.
Thank you
So
so much, Lisa.
give yourself a gift. If you
Mm,
resonate with Patra at all, do yourself the favor of reaching out and giving
Please do.
yourself a session with her, because it's real. Patra is magic. She truly is.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're so welcome.
It's been wonderful
Yes,
talking with you.
I love our conversations. And if you like this conversation, check through the archives, because we have a conversation that we did what about I don't know, when was
Last
it?
spring?
Yeah, I think it was about 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Check it out. Patra's in here again. We always have the favorite ones coming back all the time, which is great. I love it that we can really just dive into these conversations
Yeah,
and really go deep. And it's just so beautiful, so much fun, so organic and natural.
it is. Yes.
Great. So, Patra, thank you so much for this great conversation. Thank you all for
Mm,
joining in on this great
yes.
conversation today.
Mhm.
And we'll have the link to Patra's website in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Connecting You to You Radio on one of our podcast channels.
Wow.
So just check it out, reach out to Patra. And if you would like to reach out to me, I'm Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing, now in its 10th anniversary edition. And you can find me at connectingyoutoyou.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next week, create for yourselves a great week. Bye for now. Thanks, Patra.
Thank you.